pockets of poverty, people have access to less than.
Right.
We're talking food, high quality food, fresh fruit, fresh meat, fresh vegetables, etc., etc., etc. They're exposed to less than in these pockets of poverty. But I think that said, when most Americans think about hunger, they think about food insecurity. They don't think of that as an American problem. We think about the infomercials we see on late night television, the little African babies with big bellies. But talk to me about what the numbers are saying to us about hunger and food insecurity in America right now.
Yeah, so the numbers are huge. I mean, there are 50 million Americans in this country that are hungry. And that means that they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. They're fretting and worrying if their parents about how they're going to feed their children. If they're little kids, they're at school and they come in oftentimes on Monday mornings with not enough to eat, and they're fidgety and not learning in classrooms. And we know this because we've done a lot of work with teachers that talk about this. And they're senior citizens that are living on a fixed income, and they are too modest and embarrassed to ask for help. And so we've seen the numbers in the last, since the recession, we've seen the numbers double. 150 million people. I mean, come on guys, this is a crisis. We've got a crisis in front of us. But the interesting thing, which goes back to several things that various panelists said, is it is, up until now, it's been hidden. I read today that over 62% of Americans really believe that there's a divide around wealth. And they're concerned about it. And they're concerned about the intersection of hunger and poverty and education and the ability to get out of being at the bottom of the rung. They're really worried about it. So I think when I get back to how do people react and how do people look as far as those that are hungry, they look like all of us. We all know somebody that is struggling. The work that we do at Feeding America, we did the biggest piece of research around hunger in America that's done, shows that it's doubled since the recession, as I said, but also the people that are coming to our food banks and into food stamp offices for the first time has grown by 30%, and that 30% are people that are visiting that have never been there. So it is the middle class. But I was thinking about this as we were getting ready for the panel. You know, this country has come together and solved some really big issues around race because of great leaders like Dr. King, has solved great issues like women's suffrage because of Susan B. Anthony. And this is an issue of leadership. And we need to join hands together and lead 150, that's half of our country. If we can't do something about this now, then we never will.
When Vicki, I want to have some fun now, we kind of laid out what, in this first round here, we kind of laid out what the problem is. Vicki, again, obviously a wonderful segue. Let me come back to you first, Dr. West. When Vicki says what we need are leaders, we need leadership. We are sitting in Washington right now, and I know at least 535 people who think they are leaders. I know another guy at the end of Pennsylvania who definitely thinks he's a leader. That's 536. So there are some folk in this town who regard themselves as leaders. If what we're lacking with regard to making poverty a priority in this country is leadership, why is it then that there seems to be a bipartisan consensus in this town that the poor don't matter?
Yeah, I hope you all noticed the tears in Sister Vicki's eyes at the very end of her presentation. And the tears have to do with somebody who cares. The tears have to do with recognizing the condition of poor people in America is a matter of national security, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like whatever foreign policy that we have. And part of the problem in America is we don't have elected leaders who understand the tears.
Before you go further, I want you to talk right there.
Yeah.
When you say that poverty is an issue of national security.
National security.
Make the case for it.
Namely, that if we don't come to terms with it, then it's not the external threat, it's the internal rot that's going to lead to the collapse of American democracy into an oligarchy, a plutocracy, where the well-to-do live in gated spaces, and working people and poor people are at each other's throats, and America goes under as we know it. That's important. Am I right about you, Tim?
You're right.
And I feel that. And one of the reasons why we don't have the leadership among the 536 is that they are leading, they're just not leading in such a way that they make poor and working people a priority. When investment bankers are in trouble, they lead. They solve that problem. Here's big trillions of dollars. When the banking system is in problem, they lead. Action right away. When you need to go to war, action right away. How you going to pay for it? We're going to be with it down the line. Oh, you're not going to pay for it, huh? No. That certain kind of leadership is called myopic, short-sighted, narrow, and in the end it leads to a catastrophe. What we need is courageous, progressive, prophetic leadership, and the truth is this, that historically in America, it's been primarily the black prophetic tradition that provided that leadership precisely because you had a people enslaved Jim Crow on intimate terms with terror, trauma, and stigma, but still taught the country how to love. Taught the country how to love. Justice is what love looks like in public. It has been the Frederick Douglasses and the Martin Kings and the Fannie Lou Hamers and the Ida B. Wells and the Dorothy Irene Height who taught us about justice and taught us about love. And right now, the black prophetic tradition is very weak and feeble. Now, the black prophetic tradition has been the leaven in the American democratic loaf. And you don't have to be black to be part of that tradition. You have to be connected with that tradition and choose to be a part of it. Miles Horton chose, John Brown chose, Barry Enright chose. It's not a matter of stereotype. We're part of a tradition that has taught America the best about itself, of how to love others even when you're hated, to talk about justice even when revenge is coming at you. That is spiritual. That is moral. It's not just a political question. And we got 536 leaders in Washington that are so obsessed with power, 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 money, money, money. How they gonna get the lobbyists satisfied? Where they gonna get money for the next re-election? That when it comes to moral and spiritual issues like the condition of our precious children of all colors, it's an afterthought. They talk about it during the election. And then as soon as they're elected, they back to business as usual.
It was so brilliant what you just said. So let's redefine the term. These 536, and let's throw Biden in there too, don't leave. 537 are not leaders, they're followers. They follow the money. They do what they're told by the people who pay them to do these things. As long as we have money in politics, it's going to be so hard to do any of these things here in this town that we want to do when they don't, they're just the servants to Wall Street. They're just, Wall Street says, here, do this. Like, park my car. My soup's cold. Get me some more soup. I mean, that's what they are, really. They're waiters and they're servants and that's why the Occupy movement is not called Occupy Washington, D.C., it's called Occupy Wall Street, because that's where, we're tired of going to the puppets. We're now at the puppet masters. That's
It raises a fundamental question, Bob. It raises a fundamental question. If Michael is right, and I agree with him, I think he is, that both parties are beholden to Wall Street. We are now in a presidential race, and there's Mr. Obama is raising money respectfully as fast on Wall Street as Mr. Romney is, if he turns out to be the nominee, if they're both beholden to that Wall Street money, no matter what they say about the $1 million contributions, what do we do?
Well, I look at the whole answer because I don't want, you know,
Give me-
everything in the
give me-